So, good morning, everyone. We are now starting with our conference about the future of NDT film scanning. My name is Michael Bogrand, and I'm today's host. Like I said, this is a very warm welcome. It seems that we have visitors from the west coast of the United States to Japan today. We were surprised about the very positive feedback we had and the participation. And we would, let's just use the maximum time about this, which we have. Our today's conference is scheduled to last about an hour. We have 4 sessions, 4 parts. The first part is a panel discussion about the future of the NDT film scanning, and is based upon the first conference we had in February. We collected a lot of questions during this conference, which we would like to discuss today. Then we move on to one of our most successful partners in South Africa, to Gammatec, and I will present in the individual presenters in a minute. Then we move on to a subject matter presentation coming from Berlin. And the 4th part will be then an open Q&A that you can provide your question and answers, and we will everyone will pitch in and to discuss your questions. And this will be on an open end. All the participants can only chat with us, and please, the best part is chat towards anyone if you have any questions or concerns, and we will try to answer them either probably in the order which we received the questions. So this is just a quick picture on the second page, just in case for those who are joining and are brand new, that you see what we are talking about. We are talking about a specialized system for digitizing RT film. And this is the way this looks like: a computer with viewing station and a digitizer. So please let me introduce our guest speakers. Dr. Uwe Czerpel, who is a senior scientist at the BAM Federal Institute for Material Research and Testing in Germany. Welcome, Dr. Czerpel.
Oh, everybody.
Then there is Marco Gonzalez, who is the Sales and Marketing Director from our partner Gammatec in South Africa. Welcome, Marco.
Thank you very much, Michael.
And here's our expert panel for this morning. Mr. Graham Healing, who is CEO of Reprotech in the United Kingdom. Hi, Graham.
Hi, everyone.
Graham is a specialist for logistics and technical services for one of the manufacturers. Then Mr. Pavel Zaitsev. Hi, Pavel.
Hello, everyone.
Pavel is a specialist for NDT software and support, which is, of course, one of the most important aspects. Then Mr. Primoz Skubic. I hope I got this right this time.
Oh, it's Skubic.
Okay, never mind. I'll learn it. He is specialized a long time in NDT, and he is taking care of many customers as a channel manager for NDT. And then I would also like to invite Mr. Tim Yago. Tim is a digital marketing consultant who has been working with us for quite a long time and has become somewhat an NDT channel specialist for marketing in NDT. And a lot of questions came in whether we can create some form of special support for marketing and communication for the NDT market. And Tim will show a little bit what we put together. Okay, now I'm going to stop the share and we are going into the first session. Okay, everyone, we are right here. And also, David, you were not on the list, but also David Brooks coming in from the UK as our partner in England. Welcome. So a couple of questions, and I have a list here of questions which we sorted by time and what we think is important. Graham, I'm going to give you, and maybe also a little bit to Primoz. One of the most asked question is, what is the advantage to the NDT market about digitizing film?
To Primoz or to me? Or?
To both. Let's start with you, Graham.
Well, with the NDT market, it seems to be two factors. There's one that there's a storage question. Do we keep the film or do we digitize it? So there's a, I think more often than not, from my experience in the NDT, is there's more projects led, and maybe there's an ongoing project. But it's something we're learning actually, because in our experience in VIDA, of course, we've evolved from the medical background, and yeah, every NDT project that lands on our desk seems to be a little bit different to another one. So I wouldn't want to generalize at all, really.
So from my experience from 2020 to 2021, so this year also, it is that yeah, the market is still interesting. So that means that there is not just to have a project for the digitalization of the RT films or like a service, but it's also that there is a lot of potential still in the market. Just we see the gap between the distributor and manufacturer. So GMB is here, and we create this super channel who can help you or help us that this gap could be closed, and that all of us will become successful.
Okay, thank you, Primoz. There's just one issue coming from my side. Many of our partners are considering digitizing film, also the entry level to go digital. So not only by the application, but by the strategic background to lead customers and end users over to going digital in NDT, if they are not already. Okay, next question on my list is, and maybe Pavel and Dr. Czerpel could join in a little bit. We had going digital, a lot of times there is a special file format called DICONDI. And there was a lot of question, why should the NDT market use DICONDI file format? Maybe Pavel, you can start, and Dr. Czerpel can say a few words.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. The DICONDI format combines few benefits in one thing. First, it provides a rich set of additional text, allowing customers, vendors to describe additional settings for the image. Also, it includes different compression techniques. It saves everything in original bit depth, so we don't lose initial quality. And in the end, everything what we have, something from TIFF, something from JPEG together, it's only fully implemented in DICONDI. We know that the market is not 100% ready for migration. Some customers would like to stay with TIFF files where they have some advantages of DICONDI, but not 100%. So this is our mission to bring all the market to this new format.
Thank you, Pavel. Dr. Czerpel, can you briefly explain in a scientific matter what DICONDI file format is?
Yeah, at first I would like to mention that DICONDI is not only a file format, but an interoperability standard. So if you have two different vendors, they can use this standard to exchange data, to store and to archive and to send out data, typically nowadays not as a file, but via the Ethernet network, as some TCP/IP port interconnection. And yeah, why is it necessary? The problem is not only the image you have, the problem are the complementary data which accomplish the image and you need for interpretation. For radiographic inspection, it's the distances, it's TV settings and all this additional data. And this has to be transferred additional to the image. And the DICONDI standard is a nice description of text and infrastructure where you can store both the image data, which are not only image data, but also tensor data. If you look for computed tomography, so you have a CT, you have a three-dimensional image, and then you have the complementary data, which should be stored additionally. And all the things are regulated by DICONDI. And this development is relatively fast. It was started in the 1990s in the medical field. It was taken over in around 2005 to the NDT field. So the name was changed from DICOM to DICONDI. And now we have DICONDI standards at ASTM for radiographic testing, for ultrasonic testing, for eddy current, for all the testing methods. There is a special standard describing the DICONDI data format. Okay.
Thank you very much. I probably will get there a little later to this topic again. Yep. The next question I have on my list is going to Tim. There's Tim. Tim, a lot of people were, and this goes more to the resellers, were asking whether we are planning some kind of special promotion to the global market and assist them how to market this kind of digitizing solution. I know we did something. Could you tell us a little bit about what we are going to launch later this year?
Sure.
I will make you the presenter for say. You want to show something, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make you also the host. Okay, go ahead. You can share your screen if you want.
Okay, very well. Greetings, everyone. I just wanted to put out there that we are gearing ourselves to help your companies and businesses promote themselves through digital marketing. One of these main avenues is developing a YouTube page, which is very informative, at very low cost. And like this page that we did for GMB International, there's
Are you showing something? You need to share your screen.
Oh.
If you.
Yes. There we go.
Yeah.
So like this page for GMB International, it shares a variety of different videos, which include applications, application demos, product demonstrations, software demos, support. These are very inexpensive and very effective ways to inform people and educate people about your business, your NDT solutions, as well as troubleshooting. A lot of times people don't have the time to get you on the phone, and they can hop on your YouTube page. They can look at frequently asked questions and view some of these demos and troubleshooting information. I also like to mention that pay-per-click marketing is also very informative. If your customers can't find you online, how do you expect to gain their trust, gain their business? And pay-per-click and social media marketing are two very important aspects of this marketing puzzle to attract customers to your business and continue that flow of importance out on the marketplace.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to reclaim, and you have to please stop sharing.
Yes.
Okay. Just to everyone, we are in the process of changing everything we do towards a neutral base. So this is not going to be one manufacturer or just one solution. Part of that series is to go from one specific manufacturer to provide a platform which is going to be cross-manufacturer, cross-country, that we have a certain base with all the languages, flyers, email mailings, and all of this. Okay, thank you very much. Then the next question is going to, yeah, Pavel, again, towards you. This was also a question. We generate, when we scan and when we acquire images, terabyte of images. And a lot of customers were asking what to do with the images. In this respect, we got the phrase NDT Packs. Could you just share in a minute what the ideas are, what is going to happen with these images?
Yeah, thank you. Sure. Yeah, I should extend what Dr. Sheppard explained about DICOM D. This is not file format. This is inter-computer communication global standard. And PACS is a system, network-based system using this DICOM D network protocol. When customers have terabytes of data, this is true, they need to organize data by date, or source, some modalities, facilities, etc. It's possible using PACS where a database runs underlying the storage. But the old style, when they put images into folders, subfolders, it makes finding a needed image not quick or even impossible sometimes. It is not realistic to find a file through millions of other files. So this is fine. So I should summarize. This is a system organizing millions and billions of data in the proper way for further easy finding.
Okay, it's cloud-based, correct? It can be cloud-based.
Yeah, it's possible to install it in the cloud. It's possible to install it in a local server, depending on customer regulations. This system is vendor neutral. So a vendor, CR, DR, film digitizer, they should support. They should be DICOM D compliant. And after that, they could upload, download data to these well-organized storage, image storage. Also, reports are possible to store photos, etc.
Thank you, Pavel. Coming to the next question, I think this is going to Primož again. We were asked whether we do plan to do more of these conferences specialized on the NDT market, and also how, in your opinion, is the feedback and the acceptance?
Okay, so everybody knows that last year and this year we have this COVID situation, but not only because of that, we see that digitalization is here, and also to have an online conferences and meetings, it's here. So that means that we create a platform, so to have as much as possible video conferences. We are using Zoom or other platforms which is needed. The feedback, it's really great. So we also use LinkedIn platform to invite people to this kind of conference. And if we started and we with who will participate on this kind of topic, on the beginning it was 50, but then we go to 200. So I think that the feedback is great. And everybody want to get the right information, not only about digitizing, but also about what the GMB International network with the team inside wants to do. So and how fast we can be, and what we also realize through these online meetings and conference, that we can be very fast and successful. So I think that this is the most important what we can do with this kind of platforms.
Thank you, Primož. The next question goes to Graham and Dr. Chappell, maybe there is a question. A customer would like to know whether he should, what are the purchasing criteria for an NDT film digitizer, price or quality? That's a good question. And maybe, yeah, Graham, if you would can provide an answer.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what Dr. Shuttle has to say on this, actually. I'm very, very personally interested on. I come from a service background more than anything, and there's no great secret. Out of the three forms of image capturing, the CIS, the CCD, and the laser, most of my experience has been in the CCD area. So within each of these fields, and you get the lower quality and the high quality products. And again, evolving from the medical market, when it comes to NDT, I know there's some specific requirements, subtly different to the medical. We've never forced anybody, or we've never told anybody this is capable of X or Y. We always try and promote them to test themselves. When it comes to losing a bid through something that's cheaper, and I think David will back me up on here, we've had so many cases where there's been hands up later on saying, we got it wrong, we want to buy something a little bit more expensive now. So there clearly is a threshold there that is not acceptable. And I know in my fields, CIS and CCD in the paper, and CCD laser CIS is not an option in my opinion. And then when it comes down to optical density, which is a key area with NDT, I believe, and as engineers here, I mean, how do we test whether a product is capable of doing optical density of 4.1, for example? And I think what we have seen right across the board from manufacturers is the claims of increased optical density sort of leaping up, and we're thinking as engineers, really, how do we prove this or not? And what we do know, of course, is that it's a logarithmic scale. So if you're achieving 4.1 from 4, that's a much bigger jump from 2 to 2.1. And in my era, we've seen some rapid increases from like 3.6 up to 4.3 and things like that. So it'd be interesting to hear what Dr. Sheppard has to say about that. And I think that's about it, really. I think there is a point where the product is too cheap and the quality isn't sufficient, and it doesn't
So quality over price. Dr. Sheppard, can you help us or the audience understand quality criteria they should look for?
Good. This was an old question I observed since 30 years, and to give a good hint to the user, we released, I remember the ISO standard in 2003, I think. I have it in my presentation. And there we defined for the application 3 different application classes. And in Europe, where I live, we have for wet inspection, basically 2 testing classes, A and B. A is a basic and B is enhanced. And now you had to adjust the requirements on your film digitization system to the requirements of your inspection class. And one of the things which are discussed already is the density range for the films you want to digitize. And in my experience, the price of the digitization units you can find on the market is very similar. So, and unfortunately for NDT, the selection of different devices is very limited. You have only a few devices, and those you have not so much options. And I really recommend our we are doing not sales, of course, as an institute, but we gave advice and develop standards. And for this, we support the user by technical requirements based on standards. And the ISO 14096 is one of the now 20 years old standards which try to regulate these requirements.
Okay, thank you very much. If I follow my own agenda, we are now 25 minutes into the expert discussion, and I would like to switch over to the next point. This would be a short report from our strongest partner, one of the strongest partners from Gammatec, Marco Gonzalez. And this would be about his experience in the South African market, about working with their customers and the NDT film digitizer. Marco, can you come back with the camera?
No, I need permission.
Okay. Oh, you need permission. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 minute to give you. I'm making you the host again, and then you can activate your camera. Okay.
There we go.
Here we go.
Okay, Michael, thank you for the introduction and this opportunity. I'm going to just talk about my experience over the last 5-6 years with digitization, even though I've been pushing the digital spectrum for over 12 years now. And on the digitization, it's been an interesting road. It started with an initial discussion with Michael, where we spoke about his experience in the medical industry. And I've got to say, it's night and day. It's two different industries, the mindset completely different. So anyway, I'll just make it as brief and informative as I can. So my initial engagement was obviously starting with the NDT contractors and doing the sales pitch of, well, yeah, you've got a unit for archiving. It'll also assist you in better reporting, where you could actually then digitize the report and make it look pretty, and giving your customer added value and so on. It was very soon, as I started, I went to see, actually he's a friend of ours, and he was the field director and ops manager for a big company. And I went and visited, and I put down the brochure in front of him, sat down, and within seconds he handed back the brochure. And I said to him, "What are you doing? It's for you." And he said, "I'm not interested." I said, "At least have a look. Let's talk." And I was going to explain. And he bluntly just said no. And his approach was, when my customer tells me I need to get one, I will get one. And then I know who to call. And I thought, really? I said, you know, this is basically new. And I was actually hoping that you would drive this as a new initiative to promote better practice. And he, again, flatly refused. I actually was quite annoyed. Within the next week, I decided to change our strategy completely, even though I understand when it comes to radiography in South Africa anyway, that's what I'm talking for. I don't know other areas, but radiography tends to have a lot more expenses now than a long time ago. And for the right reasons. We need to make it safe and so on. So they've got expenses of GPS trackers for their vehicles. They've got certain conditions to carry out a radiograph. These radiation meters, electronic pocket dosimeters that each operator needs to have. And these are all added costs. And often I keep hearing frustration from our customers in terms of, okay, well, the price has gone up again, the laws change, I need to get this again. It's not profitable for me to continue doing radiography. And that's similar. So with that in mind, I decided, well, we're going to go to just end users. And we started with, and when we say end users, I'm talking primarily power generation and oil and gas, aviation to a low extent back home in South Africa. So I started with power generation. We arranged some meetings with the staff at the power generations and contractor at the same time. And slowly, by doing demos, and these guys brought in their own images, and then we were doing comparisons on a viewer versus what you're seeing on the screen. And that comes back to the question we had earlier, whether quality over price. And that, to me, comes to as part of education. The customer doesn't know what is quality. When I start talking about the Epiform, Dicondi, it was all completely new to them. So it was more, us about spreading the news, new information, guiding, and so on. Eventually, there were 2 level 3s at the power generation company, Eskom, that needed to approve it. They came over to our premises for 2 days. They brought various films. They had 2 different viewers, and we sat there for 2 days. And the end result was they signed it off. We obviously promoting the VIDAR. They were very happy with it and so on. And from there, the law went out. It was signed that every contractor that goes into Eskom, new or existing contractor, they would have to acquire one immediately. And then Eskom made a mistake by saying that those contractors would use the digitizer to digitize new films that they're shooting and put it into their report, as I had suggested.
Marco, I think we lost him.
Lost him.
We lost him. Okay, sorry, he might come back in, but I think this is a part of the presentation he did. I just have to say to close Marco's part, and thank you for doing this, Marco. On our YouTube channel, I sent the link. We have actually a presentation which I had the pleasure of giving to the South African Welding Society, and which addresses exactly Marco's concerns. And pretty much, since I can't ask that question, a lot of people we interviewed told us they expect a bright future for NDT film digitizing, correct?
Yeah, so first of all, they need a good explanation. So they want that we clarify not only the situation which is now on the market, but what is our strategy. That they know where they can buy, who will support them, where is the service, and these kind of things. So and they don't want to have to be a competitor to others. So I think that because of that, GMB International Network, it's also going in that direction. So that we don't want to create additional competition on the market, but we want that manufacturers of digitalizers and CRs and DRs, they are working together. So now it's opportunity that they can do this through us. So maybe Michael, you can add something more about your experience or how you can see GMB.
Yes, thank you. I would give me 1 second. Marco is back. Let me just Primoz, can you please unmute Marco?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. We do get some feedback. Dr. Sheppard, I would like to, for the moment, pass over to you, get back to Marco when he's back.
Oh.
Again, I make you the host.
You made it already? Okay. Yeah, it looks like.
Okay, go ahead.
Try to share my screen.
Yes.
See. Does it work?
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect. Please go ahead.
Fine. Yeah, my name is Uwe Scherbe. I'm from the Federal Institute for Materials Research and Testing in Berlin, in Germany. And I will speak shortly. I would like to speak on image quality in industrial radiography. I was sitting now by the things on my screen, and the past and the future on NDT film digitization. And I do this not only as a scientist, but as one of my major tasks at BAM is to join standardization committees. And we have a database of the activity and of the standardization committees, and I'm meanwhile members of 19 standardization committees around the world. This is the German DIN, the European CEN, ISO is an international one, IEC is for Linux and other things, and IIW is the International Institute of Welding, where I had the sub-commission on radiographic weld inspection, and also at ASTM International. I'm active, meanwhile, as the convener of the film radiography club. So I have a lot of, in the last 30 years where I'm at BAM, I developed a lot of standards. I have been involved in the development of many, many radiographic standards, especially for industrial radiology. And one of these standards where I started my work basically was the standard which is nowadays available as ISO 14096, the NDT standard for the qualification of radiographic film digitization systems, which has two parts. And maybe some other is confused a little bit. In the last years, there was some development, very slightly development, because this standard came up first as European standard in 2003. And then the Japanese conveners of ISO took it over in 2005 as ISO standard. But in practice, this has been two different standards with identical tasks. And so this was realized by EN, and it was forwarded now officially to ISO. And we have since the last year an EN ISO version of 2020 with the same contents. So we have merged versions now and no technical changes. But the development of the standards started in 1996, so time was going on. And so as a new convener of the ISO Standardization Committee on Radiographic Testing, I plan to make an official technical revision of this standard in the next year, starting next year. And why? Because we had, over the years, we had some small text errors, some missing text lines in the ISO standards. Then new paragraphs were introduced, but the numbering was not adjusted. And so we have a slightly editorial errors inside, and we had to correct them. But besides the editorial errors, I want to consider also the standard development of the last 20 years. And the resolution is in two divisions, as we in two directions, as we teach it also in the NDT training courses. You have a spatial resolution and you have a contrast resolution. And for a good measurement of the basic spatial resolution is nowadays very nicely defined the basic spatial resolution, which corresponds very nice to the 10% MTF value on an edge measured, as it is described in the standard. But the standard measures not the 10%, but the 20%. So some small adjustment has to be done. Also, the standard as we have it now is sometimes confusing, because you have requirements, table with spatial requirements, but then you find two columns, one with MTF 20% value and another one with a pixel size. And which is now it's more important if you do not fulfill both and you fulfill only one. Is it good or bad? And to resolve these issues, you want to have a unified version. Also, nothing is reported in the standard up to now on scanning times and artifacts. We find a lot of different working principles in the meanwhile on the market, and you have different influence in dust and stray light. And this should be considered also by the standard. So no principal changes are necessary, because the standard is accepted by the industry in the last 20 years, and it's useful for characterization and selection of the scanning equipment for non-destructive testing, as we already discussed. Yeah, and if you have any suggestion what to change, what to include, this is my email. You're always open to send me an email with some suggestions. Yeah, and this is my task here to support the development and the application of standards by certification also. BAM is a research institute, but we have also some governmental issues, and one is this certification of equipment. And for this, for example, so the EPRI test film I did not mention yet. This we created more than 20 years ago. It's very useful because this test film has a full density range of the NDT films from 0.5 to 4.5. So you can use this film to categorize your scanning system, and this is described in the standard. Meanwhile, it's no longer distributed by EPRI. There's ASTM here, and you have now a typical chunk number from ASTM to the standard, so you can order the film from ASTM. Yeah, and if I want to go back to the certification activities of BAM, we are especially interested into the safety of the NDT market. And so we started these procedures in 2000 by releasing certificates, including production surveillance for film manufacturers. There's an ISO standard on film characterization, which was developed, this started at BAM, I think in 65, so 50 years ago. And finally, we have since 2000 now certificates according to the standard. And then from the pure film, the film is here based on a micro densitometer, the granularity measurement, which is nowadays a total exotic device. Nobody has something in his lab because such scans are no longer done. Everything is done electronically meanwhile. And besides the film, we changed then, we developed the ISO standards for imaging plate systems. And since 2006, we released more than 50 certificates worldwide with 4 years duration for such instruments. And here's an advertisement shown from a magazine. And you see then very small here is the signature of the BAM certification inside the advertisement. So it has some market influence. And so after having this image plate systems regulated, we started with another one with the digital detector arrays in 2016 and released certificates. And finally, which is, but this is basically the first technique I started 30 years ago. We started in this year a new certification program on film digitization systems, because we get now, after a lot of years, the first requests for certification. But okay, the program is very new, so we have not yet any certificates released. Yeah, if you look for the equipment, what we have in our institute, in my lab, okay, we have point digitization systems like the laser scanners. We have line scanners. Here, this is a scheme of the very old Dupont system we had in the 90s. And the simplest thing you can think about comes back now very nicely. You have a camera on a light box, and the cameras are decreasing in price for orders of magnitude, and the quality also improved a lot. So, so this is very interesting new working field for such new developments. And the best system which we still have in our lab running is such a drum scanner, which I purchased around 2000. I think it can go down to 2 micrometer pixel size. And you have here 0.5 meter by 0.5 meter films you can scan, and like a washing machine, the drum is scanning, and you get gigabytes of data out of one film. And this was basically verified by Boeing, and we got the task from ASTM, where I'm very active in, to digitize all their film reference radiographs. And so they have about, I think, 20 catalogs, and I think at least 10 of them we digitized in really high resolution and 10 micrometer pixel size on this film scanner. And if you purchase such an electronic reference image catalog from ASTM, you purchase a DVD with images from this drum scanner. Yeah, but the developing is not stopping. And here are some of the film digitization history. We started this as pre-normative research as a project in Germany here from 1993. This was one of my first research projects I did. And we did it as BAM as project leader to come with Telecom, with Siemens Power Generation, which is also based in Berlin, and Dupont, which was doing films at this time. And yeah, this was in the time where even DICOM was not yet known. And we used a specific or a devoted glass fiber cable from our institute to Siemens Power Generating Square through Berlin to develop the protocols and the methods for remote data storage. And these results are later transferred to the SEN Standardization Working Group, which starts to work in 1996. And finally, after, here you see, after 7 years, the standard was published, and then 2 years later transferred to ISO. And now, after nearly 20 years, we have now a plan for a new revision. What is the problem? It was already discussed slightly. Commercial equipment, which is available on the market, is adapted for medical film, because the medical market is at least 10 times larger than the NDT market, if not more. But the NDT films are totally different. They are operated at higher optical densities, they have a lower noise, and they have a much better basic spatial resolution as the normal typical medical film. The mammography is just the border between NDT and medical. So if you have an application good for mammography, you can transfer the devices to NDT. So many, since 2003, this is my view here, we have only the array system from Japan, which is a laser scanner. Here you see it as an image, which fulfills completely the ISO standard in the highest testing class DS9, sorry. The wider scanner, which is also on the market, has much lower digitization classes, which are not suitable for high sensitivity applications in Europe using testing class B for well testing. Well, this is not possible. This is the only scanner which is this. And I have given here some other numbers. You see here, the most important number is the scanning time. A laser scanning, typical NDT film 10 by 25 centimeters is scanned here in 1 minute. With such a, I hope you can see it here. The nose is just the camera, and the film is here on the light box. And if you have scanning times in the range of 10 seconds, and now line CCD cameras comes up, scanners adapted for the DS class, but the scanning time is really, really long because of the low light intensity. So I had at the moment a certification request from Microtrack in Taiwan. And yeah, the question is it a typical application for the user? Yeah, and the whole development is still, because even in this year or the last numbers I got from last year says that about 70% of industrial radiographic testing worldwide is still film-based. And so if you want to introduce Industry 4.0 or something like this, you need a digitization step. So therefore the need comes from, I think. Yeah, so this is my last slide. So what do we have for activities at BAM? We have different reference procedures, and we offer them as certification programs for film characterization, for digital detector characterization. This includes also scanners, or for the optical density. So we have, since 40 years, a reference material, BAM X001, which is such a step density target. You see it here laying around, where you have defined optical densities, and you can use it to verify your densitometer for film radiography, or you can use it for calibration of your film scanner. And this is in fulfillment of our BAM production model, that we do first some pre-normative research. Then we will develop standards, and if all this is existing, then we use these standards for testing in certification. Yeah, the standardization is ongoing in parallel in CEN, ISO, and ASTM. Therefore, we are circling around the world for the different committees to get the same requirements in all parts of the world. It does not make sense to have different requirements in the different parts of the world. And it comes out in the last years, ASTM is the fastest, the fastest developing organization for all this digital activities. and so forth necessary to join the ASTM activities. We make it because we are a governmental institute and paid by the German Ministry of Economics, and we had to support, of course, the German industry. And so we support German industry by going to ASTM International to Florida.
Very nice.
One example, for example, is Authority for Image Quality. This is worldwide known, and we do it since 80 years now. Now the first standard was this DIN wires. I have it here behind. I hope you can see it. At this time it was a Reichsröntgenstelle, and here this Reichsröntgenstelle released 2 pages on radiography testing of wells. Meanwhile, we have 2 parts of the standards, and each part has, the one has 80 and the other one 120 pages. So we have about 200 pages nowadays. No? Yeah, at the moment, actual areas are artificial intelligence and flaw detection, and also metrology in computer tomography, and smart RT is a new slogan, is what we are active in. Yeah, and BAM will actively support the emerging products on NDT film digitization for safe applications by research, testing, and certification. Okay, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chappell. Very, very interesting. I appreciate you participating here. Marco, you are back. So I just had one question for you before you dropped out. I mentioned while you were gone that we had a very interesting marketing and education event a few years ago at the South African Institute for Welding, yeah, where the presentation is on the YouTube channel. But my question to you is, Marco, do you see a positive future with film digitizing in South Africa?
Well, we've sold roughly 20 systems, and on the other systems, mainly with the film feeder and also the AccuScreen Pro software. That was our standard package. And for the last 18 months, we've hardly seen any requests for digitizers, but we've seen an enormous increase in CR and DDA requests. So digital is in, and it's becoming more popular. And we've sold 3 systems since January already, which is incredible right now, especially with the times we're going through. So yeah, the market's looking at digital, but we can see our DR, and I'm not getting much on the digitizer.
Thank you for sharing this. This is exactly why we have initiated this platform, this event. We are now, 2020 was a terrible year, but with the what GMB is doing right now, the feedback and the reactivation of the market is definitely working. We are getting back that market, and we have to train the customers of the benefits of this event. Okay, gentlemen, I would like to move now to the 4th section. We are perfectly in time, and this would be a Q&A. I would please anyone who has a question to go this in the chat for everyone. I'm going to go from up to down, and there is already one question which I would like to summarize. It was a question is that a gentleman who is now retired and was 40 years in NDT said that digitization service, digitization applications and processes were outsourced to service companies who would basically try to scan in the archives and go completely digital. And but this was what you say, there is not very much demand for it. Why are we pushing this kind of solution now? And Primož, that's maybe a question to you. So are you seeing, based upon the interviews you did, and you mentioned this before, are you seeing a positive feedback coming to this solution in digitizing film?
Yeah, so the digitizing business, it's not on the end. So I was also mentioning this a few times in the meetings, and I was saying, okay, film digitizer, we know that this is not a long-term business. because we have DR, CR, and these kind of solutions. But the participants on the meeting, they correct me, and they said that no, there is still a possibility, just like I was already mentioning before, it must be clarified how to do it. And all of them, or our partners or distributors, they need to have opportunity that they could buy the digitizer. So, and also they need to have opportunity that they could select which one they need. So now we are talking about 3 different manufacturers here. And before it was some kind of competition, but yeah, what we are bringing now, it's not a competition. So we are bringing now more opportunities or more options that they could select from the market. I think that this is different.
Okay, thank you very much. From my side, maybe also from the film digitization. I remember when I started also in the medical 25 years ago, and also in the first couple of years, there were basically no many sales in medical scanners. But at some point, this went through the roof. The sales came in like, I remember, like hotcakes, because the industry and also the health systems required digitization because of a comparison. And this became not necessarily law, but a part of digitization in medical. And I would say between 2002 and 2012, there was an incredible boom for film digitizers in medical. And the big question which I've seen is that a requirement and a wish from the market or not? That will define whether the film digitization will become much more active or not. And depending on the development over the next 1 or 2 years, we are providing help for the market in education, marketing platforms, and I hope that we can help out here. Another question came in, okay, what other conferences you are planning to offer? Based upon what I have here, we probably will have a specialized session on NDT Packs in the future. And also what I think is, since this global conference seems to attract some interest, we will maybe offer this specialized in certain markets. I could imagine that this topic focused on the United States would be interesting, or maybe focused on the German market. In any case, we will continue with this kind of sessions over the next couple of weeks or months. Okay, last chance for questions, please send us a text. So we are, anyone from the presenters or expert panel, anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I would like to add my feedback regarding these long questions point regarding why the push again. Yeah, and everyone knows that NDT customers work in completely different environment than medical customers, and I like Marco's statement. This is day and night, and this not only environment when someone's staying on seashell platform or in Sahara or Siberia, where they have extreme temperature conditions, but also companies, they sometimes they don't want to scan even CR plates, which are possible to use instead of films. Yeah, because technicians level 1, they are allowed only to make films, but they're not allowed to scan. So films can be collected, go back to the truck and go to a wood-made office with some office conditions. So this is not hospitals with warm room. This is completely different world where films are still popular, and what Dr. Chappell mentioned, more than 50% are still film are still customers of film, users of films.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, last call. Is there any further questions? Please text us. We will close the conference in 2 minutes. We are right now in 1 hour. Just to jump to the end, I would like to thank everyone participating. Thank you very much for everyone's time. I think this has been working very nicely. You will find that conference on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, probably on Monday. Because again, we are learning between, we had altogether 206 attendees registered. We saw everyone that about 34 were participating. And so we'll find out a ratio, but I think this was for the first time very good. And I'm sure we will get many downloads and views of the conference on our YouTube channel. Okay, then thank you very much. I will now stop the recording and yeah, you can, I think, all log out if you want. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Graham and Primoz, if you could.